Oh, that's the wrong thing. Good morning, John. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. A little sick, but how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. StreamYard just made a bunch of changes again. They've really been active for the last little while. It's a
Yeah,
little
it seems
confusing when
like
you
we're
go,
having trouble streaming to LinkedIn right now.
oh, are we?
Yeah,
Oh, I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Uh, Maybe an issue on LinkedIn's end. Okay, well, they'll said they'll keep trying. We might as well continue on. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right, we might as well jump into this first story. Today we're talking about a beer, but not sorry. Today we're talking about beer, but not just taste. We're talking about the insane physics happening inside your glass. A massive 7-year study just revealed the foam on a Belgian triple is actually a structural marvel that might hold the key to a safer electric vehicles and greener cleaning products. Researchers at ETH Zurich have spent nearly a decade cracking the code on why some beer foam lasts forever while others go flat instantly. They discovered that the Belgian beer utilizes a specific physical phenomenon, and let's see if I can get this right, the Marangoni effect, to create a self-repairing foam shield. This is headline news because this exact same science is now being used to stop dangerous mechanical failures in electrical cars and create eco-friendly soap. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, this is cool. So this was 7 years in the making, and so they cracked the code on beer foam stability. And so, like you said, they discovered that different types of beer use completely different physical mechanisms to keep their foam from collapsing. Um, and Belgian triple beers, they maintain foam through through surface tension differences, which you talked about, the Marangoni effect, which they call it the Marangoni stresses. So while lagers, they rely on protein-rich films that create elastic bubbles. So that's the difference here, right? So the research started, this is cool, when a Belgian brewer gave a simple answer to how do you control brewing? And he said by watching the foam. And so this breakthrough has applications far beyond beer, like you said. Now, the key finding here is that there's no one size fits all for stable beer foam. The physics operating in the Belgian triple is fundamentally different from what's happening in a lager, and brewers need to understand which mechanism is at work to optimize their product. So, when we're talking about this, we're talking lager beers where the foam stability is controlled by surface viscoelasticity. Then we got Belgian single beers where the protein rich cells behave like densely arranged small spherical particles on the bubble surface, and that creates a two-dimensional suspension. Then you have Belgian double beers or double beers, where the proteins form a net-like membrane structure around bubbles, and that creates an even greater stability than the single beers. So this all, and what emerged from this is LTP1 emerged as a pivotal protein in beer foam stability, and that's because of its role is complex and context dependent. So during the brewing process, it undergoes critical transformations: glycation, denaturation, and lipid binding. So there's a bunch of, this is really cool, there's a bunch of chemical reactions at play and a lot of chemistry at play here, far beyond just getting that 2 or 3 finger head on your beer, right?
Absolutely, and keeping it there.
Exactly.
Think of beer foam like a building. Lagers build a stiff, rigid wall, which eventually cracks, while Belgian beers build a liquid skin that constantly moves and repairs itself. And that self-repairing motion is the breakthrough. So this creates a blueprint for stable bubbles. In beer, that means aroma and flavor protection, but in the real world, it means we can finally control foam in places where we want it. Cappuccinos, and stop it in places where it destroys machines like car engines. So, some impacts we might see on our daily life, and we'll get to some other industries, is, expect richer, longer lasting foam in your lattes as dairy companies adopt these protein structures. Or, we talked about safer cars. Lubricants in electric vehicles won't foam up and cause engine failure using these structures. New cleaning sprays can use these natural beer mechanisms instead of harsh chemicals to create suds. So they say the timeline, the science is out now. Companies like Shell are already testing the EV applications, while brewers can start tweaking recipes immediately. Where do you think we're going to see it first outside the beer industry?
So I honestly think because the EV industry is they're trying to be innovative. I think lubricants in electric vehicles. So lubricants in electric vehicles, they can foam up, which create serious safety risks. So the team apparently is now working with Shell to apply these beer foam insights to selectively break down the harmful foams in EVs, which is cool. I think there's a bunch of things. There's the food science applications to collaborate on milk foam stability, like you said, for coffee drinks, Craig, and sustainable surfactants. So most industrial surfactants rely on fluorine or silicon. And they're not environmentally friendly. So this could create an eco-friendly alternative. So there's a few applications beyond beer, which there's not that many yet, but I'm sure there's going to be more that we can talk about in the future.
Absolutely. And this is complex physics. It's not a magic pill. Just adding more protein doesn't work. They have to master, like with brewers, fermentation conditions to trigger the specific Marangoni currents. What do you call them? Marangoni,
yeah.
Okay. And there's a risk of there's a risk of over engineering this in things like coffee and beer, because then everything becomes the same, right? If every beer has the same foam, then it's not unique and whatever. But I love how the technology of the foam in beer is now being used in EVs. And if you own a EV, keep an eye on maintenance updates regarding lubricant stability. This is the tech that solves the issue, and we want to be looking at that. Anything else on this, John, before we move on?
So the cool thing, I just want to talk about the LTP1 just quickly, because so what's fascinating about LTP1 is that it starts in barley with zero foam stabilizing properties, but it's the brewing that transforms it through some chemical modifications. So during malting, sugar molecules attach to it through Maillard reactions, which is the same chemistry that makes bread crusts brown. During wort boiling, heat unfolds the protein structure, exposing regions that love to sit at air-water surface interfaces. And the final protein is chemically and structurally different from where it started. The difference about this, too, is the altitude connection. So there's a geographic element to this. So brewers at sea level, the boil wort at about 102 degrees Celsius, while brewers at 1,800 meters altitude boil at around 96 degrees because of lower atmospheric pressure. And that 6-degree difference dramatically affects LTP1. So high altitude brewers can end up with 10 to 15 times more LTP1 in their final beer, which might explain why certain brewing regions develop particular beer styles. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, it's a great note, like where all this come from, right?
Yeah.
And they had unknowingly perfected this technique, right? That causes the Morongi effect. They were just trying to get the foam.
Which maybe explains why we can't, some beers can't be replicated elsewhere unless they're at the same environmental atmosphere as others, right?
And does that mean at different environmental altitude it would change over time? We'll have to watch.
Yeah,
because that has to do with gravity and air pressure and all those types of things.
Yeah,
So
and
this
how's that going to affect the research that they're doing now, right? Because LTP1 is the main protagonist here, right? So
yeah, I'm sure they're researching it. We have some doubts about this and that, but they have to be handling it. The people testing this and trying to put it in EVs and whatnot.
yeah.
So this proves that beer foam isn't just an aesthetic; it's a sophisticated material that is literally changing how we engineer cars and chemicals. So the next time you order a pint, ask yourself, are you drinking a beverage or are you having a physics experiment? Let me know which beer you think has the best head in the comments below. Good excuse. I'm not having a beer. I'm performing a science experiment. Speaking of science, imagine watching a cooking stream and actually smelling the garlic sizzling in the pan. That's the dream of digital smell, but a massive new deep dive into ultrasound technology suggests that while we can trick your eyes and ears, your nose might be impossible to hack. Tech companies are racing to create ultrasound smell devices that blast sound waves at your brain to make you smell things that aren't there. It sounds like sci-fi, but the science is hitting a brick wall. It turns out your face is filled with air pockets that block the signal, and your brain needs actual chemicals, not just vibrations, to smell like a rose. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, this one I'm super excited about. This is cool and also super scary. All they do is think of it like a smell remote control. So instead of releasing actual chemicals in the air, they use focused sound waves to directly stimulate the brain region that processes smell, the olfactory bulb. So the research team, they developed a specialized ultrasound system operating at 300 kilohertz frequency, and that provides sufficient skull penetration. So the focal depth was set to approximately 39 millimeters, with the ultrasound energy converging below the forehead. And they used a beam angle of about 50 to 55 degrees to limit the focal area specifically to the olfactory bulb. Now, the system itself, it required MRI guided placement. So it used scans of the subject's skull to precisely align the focal region with the olfactory bulb target. So this technical precision was crucial because the olfactory bulb measures only 6 to 14 millimeters in length, while the ultrasound wavelength is 5 millimeters. So that creates challenges for spatial specificity. Now, this is really cool. Obviously, the pinpoint accuracy that's needed for this might, as it is right now, might not make it scalable. But what are your thoughts on this? Are you scared about this? Because it can make you smell clean oxygen air, like oxygen rich air, or ozone, or burning wood, or things like that. So this the 4D sensory thing that we're looking at, that we've been waiting for, or what do you think?
Well, they definitely want it to be, because this is something they could easily hook up to your VR goggles and off you go, right? An ultrasonic device, versus actually having something else in the room that sprays smells and stuff. However, call me, an old-fashioned guy, but I don't want anybody shooting ultrasound at my head. Specifically at my brain or areas of my brain.
Yeah.
We don't know the long-term effects of this, but let me put my skepticism aside. Maybe we'll talk about it later. It's a really cool concept. They are hoping this works, this sensory brain hacking. I think of it as sensory brain hacking. Instead of sniffing a real flower, a machine shoots a focused sound waves at the smell center of your brain to trick it into thinking you're smelling a flower. It's a final frontier in immersion. We have 4K TVs for eyes, surround sound for ears. If this worked, we could revolutionize VR gaming, even in movies and whatnot at home. You could even help cure smell loss in patients, which would be interesting. Fully immersive environments in the metaverse, which would be interesting, walking through digital forests and actually smelling the pine. helping patients recover smell after illness or injury. Digital perfume, sending a scent as a text message, as an example, just thinking outside the box here. I'm a little concerned about it, but the applications seem really, really cool. What about, for example, and this is another way where technology can go bad, I don't want to smell the kitty litter box. So I put on my, no smell hat and off I go.
Yeah.
Or it changes my smell. I'm not smelling what I'm working on. And I think that might become an addiction. Someone walks in, a teenager goes into their room and they don't want to clean up and it stinks. They just put on their ultrasonic thing and it smells like roses. And
Well, even worse is like if you're like trying to gather my thoughts here. So this could be used as far as where there's lots of smog and lots of air pollution, and but the problem is with any of this, you're still inhaling those nasty particles, regardless of what your brain thinks it's smelling. So that's what scares me.
Yeah, and so that's just one, negative situation. I mean, I understand, for example, I wouldn't mind having something like when I go to clean the kitty litter box, I'll flip this thing on and hopefully it would, smell like something else. So I could I know I'm breathing it in. I still got to do this job, but maybe I can take some of the unpleasantness away while I'm doing it. That's all. Yeah. That's just one example because I have cats and other people probably have an example where hey, if I go into the situation, maybe I got to go clean the toilet or something after a situation. And, I do something like this instead of, trying to put on a gas mask or something. Yeah. So there are, go ahead.
Instead of messing with your brain, you could wear that Dyson, that headphones with the air filter built in that goes right into your mouth. So I don't get me wrong. I'm excited for the applications for this. I'm excited for where it's going to go. I'm just worried about how it'll mess up or if it'll mess up your brain.
So there are concerns about research and lack of evidence supporting some of this and some safety parameters around the ultrasound neuromodulation. So we'll have to see how that goes. And they're still having difficult targeting a different stimulation part of the olfactory bulb to create unique senses and stuff. But to me, that sounds like something they will get over.
Yeah. And to ensure safety, the team adjusted the ultrasound output to an order of magnitude lower than the intensity of transcranial focused ultrasound, or TFUS, used in medical applications, while carefully angling the beam to avoid the optic nerve, which kind of scares me. So the stimulation protocol involved 5 short high-speed cycles at a frequency of 1200 hertz. The researchers implemented auditory masking with music through AirPods, and that was to eliminate placebo effects, ensuring subjects wouldn't distinguish different focal spots through sound alone, which is interesting as well. So I thought... No, go ahead.
There's some skepticism. Scientists say, beyond just ultrasound delivery, the complex olfactory processing involves multiple brain regions working together in intricate patterns. Simply stimulating the olfactory bulb cannot recreate sophisticated neural networks required for meaningful scent experiences. Not really sure what meaningful scent experiences mean, but it sounds like, they have some scientific challenges to overcome to get smelling a rose, for example. Maybe a meaningful is to identify that as, oh, that's chocolate, or that's, forest in the rain, what have you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll have to see, because it says ultrasound stimulation cannot replicate these complex temporal patterns that are essential for realistic scent perception. But we'll have to see. The brain computer interface smell applications can extend beyond simple scent vision. Virtual reality experience might benefit olfactory environments, creating more immersive environmental applications could include treating smell disorders or providing sensory substitution for individuals with olfactory impairments. We talked about a bunch of these things. So we'll have to wait and see whether this actually comes through or whether, it's not going to do anywhere near what we want it to do and it's going to fail like all the other smell-o-vision stuffs in the past. What do you think, John?
Yeah. This is interesting. I think so here's my thought on this, and just to kind of put it into perspective. So the nose has, I think, so there's two 400 dimension, let's call them receptors, like, so for your nostrils, right? So if you think about that as in the when it comes to neurotechnology, so that's a 400 dimensional information channel, right? Which is potentially offered by olfactory stimulation. Think of it like this: it matches the complexity of modern AI language models, which suggests that BCI could take the place of this ultrasonic, ultrasound kind of stuff. So there's a lot of future potential here. I just wanted to bring it back because we cover a lot of brain computer interfaces. So there's a lot of potential there.
Definitely a lot of potential. And just to maybe elaborate on the problem so people understand it a little bit better, smell is a chemical, not mechanical. A scent happens when a specific module, which I'm going to call the key, because this is a lock and key problem, when a specific module called the key hits a specific receptor called the lock, that's when a scent happens. So it's a combination of those things. Ultrasound is just a vibration, and it can't replicate this complex chemical code needed to distinguish between coffee and wet dog. So my advice is, if you see a Kickstarter for a digital smell, keep your wallet closed until you see peer-reviewed proof that this is actually going to do what they say it's going to do. But I am super interested in this.
Yeah, me too.
So the verdict is in. Biology is currently winning the war against technology on this one. But until we can figure out how to teleport chemicals into your nose, smell-o-vision, it might remain a gimmick. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you even want to smell the internet? We'll keep watching this story closely. Let us know.
Sorry, I'm off my game today.
Hey, it's all right. We're all going. We're not all 100%. Are you doing more networking events and stuff? You're sick?
No.
Just stress or something? Not sleeping?
No, just sick. Yeah.
All right. That's cool. Big news out of Europe that could change how ChatGPT works for everyone. If you think AI companies can just scrape whatever they want from the internet to build their bots, a German court just slammed down a massive gavel that says absolutely not. And the ripple effects are coming for us all. A Munich court has ruled that OpenAI infringed on copyright laws by training ChatGPT on song lyrics without a license. This is headline news because it's legally redefines training data. It's no longer just learning, it's now considered reproducing and memorizing. This destroys the fair use defense many AI companies rely on in the US and could force them to pay billions in licensing fees, potentially changing the economics of AI forever. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah. So I think I agree, I have to say. And I'm kind of disappointed in OpenAI's defense. So it rested on a few key arguments, and they are all rejected by the court, by the way. So first, OpenAI suggested that the user who enters the prompt should be legally liable for any infringing output. Okay. So an argument that the court dismissed. They also argued that any reproduction was accidental or a technical error, which again is laughable. And the court countered this by stating that both the initial copying of data for training and its later reproduction require a license. I agree. And then crucially, the court set a very low threshold for what counts as infringement, ruling that even a 15-word passage could violate copyright law. So this undercuts the common defense from AI companies that their models are creating something entirely new and not just copies of the source material. And so what are your thoughts on those arguments? Like those seem like weak arguments in a court case like this, or maybe they just didn't have a leg to stand on. You're on mute.
Sorry, coughing. Yeah, let me just expand on this compared to say what some of the other courts have decided, and you know, we can talk about this. I think this is interesting, but I don't think it's going anywhere, and I'll explain why in a bit. All right, so the court firmly rejected the black box defense. Memorizing and reproducing copyright lyrics during training and output can constitute infringement regardless of the technical mechanism involved. So that's what the German court decided. In the UK, in the Getty Images versus Stability AI case, UK court recently ruled the opposite, saying that AI models don't contain copies of images, but just mathematical weights. The German court disagrees, creating a massive legal conflict. So versus the US on books and news, in the Authors Guild versus OpenAI, and New York Times versus OpenAI, judges are currently looking at whether AI summaries are close enough to the original to count as theft. This German ruling gives a huge ammunition to the New York Times and authors. And there's more on this. Let me just check. There's the recent ruling with Anthropic. Okay, Perplexity. So the German ruling focused on training. The sin was ingesting the data in the first place. Now, the U.S. contrast between Dow Jones, New York Post versus Perplexity, a lawsuit, it's not about training. It's about retrieval augmented generation. So, again, that's the news story, right? The news publisher argued that Perplexity isn't just learning from the news. It's replacing the news by summarizing articles. So you don't need to click. So they don't have fair use everywhere. We have different rules. And the courts recently decided $1.5 billion case against Anthropic for books. Or was it OpenAI?
I
thought it was Anthropic. I thought it was Anthropic, but I'll look that up as we go.
Yeah.
And I saw some posts around some authors saying that you can get up to $1,500 per book back on this class action lawsuit. So there's a lot of different perspectives on there, and I'm not sure where you fall on all of that.
So for me, it comes down to they've used this data to train their models. That's that without paying for it. So that's where I come in. That's where I stand is they should have paid, even though it's available on the internet. They still should have negotiated some sort of agreement before using anything that has been created by artists or anything that's been created by someone to train their models. That's my opinion, though.
Yeah, and it is an opinion, so I'll put it in a different light, and it might not be the same, but imagine a student, in this case the AI, who claims they studied for a test, but when asked a question, they just recite the textbook word for word. So if you have a photographic memory and you just go like this through the textbook and you have it all and you just recite whatever, the answer from the textbook, the court says that's not learning, that's just making an illegal photocopy of the book inside your brain. Now, I don't know if it's going to apply to humans or just to AI.
That human isn't making any money off of that test that he's studied for. Whereas OpenAI is making money off of other people's content that they've trained their models on.
And potentially taking money away from the people who wrote the original content. That's kind of, you're hurt. If they can prove that there's actual financial harm, that's where things come into play.
That's
right?
Going to be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, because, things like when Google turned it off in the EU or whatever the countries was, they found it was 0.1% of traffic dropped. So it was insignificant. And so that was kind of their argument when they were going that. So we might see moving forward some things like geofenced AI. You might start seeing this content is unavailable in your region, errors on ChatGPT, similar to Netflix or what have you, where, go to point of article or whatnot. They may not be able to summarize it for you or help you. If these companies have to pay, we're probably going to see price hikes. If they have to pay for every song book they train, the price of ChatGPT Plus and other tools is likely going to go up to cover the bill. To avoid lawsuits, AI companies might purge their databases, meaning the AI knows less about pop culture, lyrics, and modern literature, so we might get dumber bots.
Who knows? Who knows? But again, it's a catch-22 kind of thing and chicken and egg kind of thing, because how do you get these outputs without training? But again, they could have paid for it at the start, right? But anyways.
Yeah, and the courts ordered an immediate injunction, meaning OpenAI has to stop using this data now in Germany, though, they will appeal. The catch is that we're creating the splinter net of AI because different countries are ruling differently. Yeah. We might end up with fragmented internet where US users get a smart AI, EUs get a safe but limited AI. And if we, want to use the really good AI, we got to go to DeepSeek in China or something where they're not limited by these rules. So critics worry that this kills the little guys. Microsoft and Google can afford to pay Gemma and the New York Times billions in licensing fees, while small AI startups cannot, meaning big tech might become the only option for powerful AI. So, and that leads me to ask the question about downstream models. And when I say downstream models, many people use the Llama models as an example and build on top of them. NVIDIA does it. Many companies do because they're open source models. Now, if any of those models are built on an open source model that was trained on any of this material, are they now liable for this?
Good point. Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm just trying to figure out how far down it affects and what the ripples are. But, as I read this and go through it before, I'm thinking it was one thing, but now, is this just becoming another moat? If you want to be a tobacco company, you got to pay millions of dollars. So only the existing tobacco company or companies with, huge pockets can get in the industry. So that's what happened with vaping, where they came along and the tobacco companies lobbied to get regulations around it. And you had to get all your stuff certified, and the certification process cost $1 million or whatever. So all the small companies shut down. You can say that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is definitely in favor of big business. So when you start looking at this, if you want to do any of this stuff, you're going to have to pay more and pay all these people. And now all of a sudden there's a moat to join these that only these multi-billion-dollar companies can, So is that strategic? Is it not strategic? I think in the end, because AI is strategically important to every government's future and every country's future, that we're going to see some countries' governments stepping in on some of this. I'm not exactly sure what that means, because people don't want to, at this stage, governments don't want to be last in the AI race. They don't want to be the one country that's putting all the rules on their AI and everyone else is jumping leaps and miles ahead of them because they don't have those rules. So it's a complex solution, and I am not on either side of it. I'm just saying that I'm trying to make awareness, making sure that we're watching these things, talking about all the sides, all the legal seats, so people can see it and understand what it might mean for the future of what happens. And, I could be way off about government stepping in, but you see what the US is doing with OpenAI and a few other AI. They're spending billions of dollars on those AI data centers to, I really think there's going to, if nothing else, there might be rules for thee, but not for me situation when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So the verdict, move fast and break things, era of AI is hitting a concrete wall. Companies can no longer treat the internet like an all-you-can-eat buffet. So does this mean artists finally get their paycheck, or are we about to see AI subscriptions double in price? And even if these fines and stuff come through, will the money actually get back to the artist? Let me know your take in the comments, and we'll keep tracking where the money goes.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of money.
Did you see the article that came out yesterday about OpenAI declaring code red?
No. What's that all about?
So it's about Sam Altman has declared a code red effort to improve the quality of ChatGPT because everyone else is surpassing them now. So all their new products are being delayed, and they're focusing on improving OpenAI, which I think they really need to. But
well, let's get into this, and then we can talk about it, because this is content maybe our users would be interested in.
For sure.
If you think the AI war is about who has the smartest chatbot, you're missing the bigger picture. It's actually about who's going to go broke first. Today, we are looking at massive shift in 2025 and moving on to 2026 that reveals why the boring AI company might end up owning the future and what that means for your wallet. We're witnessing a divergence between the two AI superpowers, or all the AI superpowers. OpenAI is chasing the massive consumer growth, but burning cash at a rate that could lead to a $74 billion loss by 2028. Meanwhile, Anthropic is quietly cornering the enterprise market and is on track to break even in 2028. So where OpenAI is on track to have a $74 billion loss in the year of 2028, that's the same year Anthropic is projecting to break even. So this headline news because it signals the end of the experimental phase of AI and start of the sustainable phase where reliability and business models matter more than hype. I'm always saying nobody's making money in AI except for hardware companies. This is an example. Now, you were just talking about Sam Altman declaring code red the last couple of days. What's going on there?
Yeah, so apparently he's declared a code red effort in order to improve the quality of ChatGPT. So apparently other products are going to be delayed as a result, and which makes sense because OpenAI is facing immense pressure from competitors who have narrowed the gap in the AI race. Me personally, I've always thought that Claude has much better quality output, and it's much better to work with than OpenAI. But Google Gemini last month, they've surpassed OpenAI's models in an industry benchmark test, and also OpenAI is facing pressure from Anthropic, which is becoming popular among business customers, which flows kind of nice into this because the difference between Anthropic and OpenAI, and the reason why Anthropic is so much closer, is because Anthropic focuses on selling AI tools to businesses. So think corporate customers paying premium prices, while OpenAI is betting on they're betting big on consumer products and massive infrastructure investments, hoping to dominate the entire AI landscape. What do you think about all this?
I think it's interesting to watch how they carve out the market. I think it's interesting to watch where they each excel and get better at. And I think when it was 6 months ago, a year ago, when Google came out with Gemini and we're having all those problems and they were, really bad, people just dismissed them immediately. And maybe we did too. I don't remember if we did or not. We did dismiss that version of it, that's for sure. But you cannot underestimate, the power of Google's data.
Mm-hmm.
They have all pretty much crawl every website in the world every friggin' day or close enough to it. It has all the data, what you do, what you send, all your email, just everything, all the social media. So to think that it count it out when they've got all the money and all the data, they just have to work at it long enough. I think was a mistake. And I think it was arrogant for a lot of these other companies like OpenAI. They've been through a lot of stuff that has not had them focusing on the product.
Yeah.
And, for example, I've seen some roadmaps where they're putting in ads in it, and they had the board controversy where they fired Sam Altman last year or at the beginning of this year. And then they brought him back. And then immediately within a month, half the board or most of the board were gone, the ones that voted against them. And so anyway, I mean, weird stuff is going on. And it's interesting to see where they're going here. And they're burning money like crazy. They need more money all the time. I think OpenAI might be too big to fail at this time from their relationships with governments and other things, but that is only a matter of time before that changes. But it's interesting to see their different models, what they're going after, what their spend rate, and what happens when you take your eye off the ball.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things here. My question to you is, so a lot of their investments right now is going into infrastructure. So do you think that their investment in infrastructure, even though they're going to take longer to be profitable, they will in the long run be not worth more, but be more profitable because of that investment in infrastructure?
It depends.
Yeah.
I mean, the infrastructure is definitely one thing, but it's product, right? And I've mentioned this before, and it's a meme now, and it's in the culture, the enshittification of products. They get good, they get users, and then slowly over time, like Google, like you search on Google, it's just not at all what it used to be. It's because they started focus on money. So as OpenAI shifts and start focus on money, they changed. And I think that's what happened. They were as a nonprofit, they were focused on the product, and now they're focused on profitability. And those aren't the same things. And one doesn't eliminate the other. But when you have this cash burn that is crazy, and they always have to raise billions and billions and billions of dollars, we'll have to see. OpenAI commands a staggering $300 billion valuation following its SoftBank funding round. This makes it one of the most valuable private companies globally. Anthropic's valuation stands at $61.5 billion in March. However, new funding rounds are approaching $170 billion, suggesting investors see tremendous gains, right? And
also, we can cover this next time, but Anthropic is reportedly preparing for one of the largest IPOs ever. That just came up on my thing, so we can talk about that next time.
So there's going to be reliability versus features, privacy trade-offs, rise of agents. One of the main things I see why I run Flowgrammer events. We get AI builders in Toronto. We talk to them every month. It's great. The number one complaint, OpenAI is slow. It's way slower than every other model out there, and people are leaving it for that alone. So they need to,
I'll say this. Sonnet 4.5 is actually pretty slow. I know I always praise Anthropic, but I have to say Sonnet 4.5 is pretty slow. It gives OpenAI vibes, but the output is phenomenal.
And that's in OpenAI's defense. The one thing I do really love is structured output, and not many of the other AI models support structured output. And most people don't give a crap, but if you're running APIs and you do a call and you want a specific structured JSON output out, OpenAI is the friggin' king of that. Okay, because some of them are starting to support it now. I think Gemini started supporting it recently. I'm not sure if Claude and Sonnet support it yet.
Oh yeah, Claude has been doing it. Yeah, I do it all the time with Claude. Yeah,
because when I get it back, I don't get a structured output back from Claude. So I think we may not be talking about the same thing, but I could be wrong.
Like a structured JSON prompt output?
All the fields in the exact way, in the exact format that I asked for, go. Not text in the middle of JSON, improperly formatted JSON, not everything, very specific output. Yeah,
No.
that's what I mean. So
Yeah.
the thing with OpenAI you don't understand is everything comes out proper with their structured output. So you can just grab the field and use it immediately, not run it through a code node or strip out all the other stuff or what have you. And that's a game changer when you're doing AI and automation, that structured output. Now the other ones are getting better, but if they don't support structured output, it's not something I usually use too much in my AI workflows, but I'll use it for other things.
Yeah.
So OpenAI is building the ultimate consumer toy, but Anthropic is building the ultimate business machine. And in a recession, the machine that saves the company money usually wins. So in the future, is this the future or just a cash burning bubble? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep watching where the money's going. Okay. Today, we're looking at a massive update to the science of weight loss that doesn't involve injections or synthetic drugs. Scientists have successfully tested an edible microbead that physically blocks fat from being absorbed by your body. If you ever wanted a Control Z for a greasy meal, you need to hear about this. Researchers at Sichuan University have created a tiny plant-based bead of green tea, vitamin E, and seaweed that acts as a microscopic sponge in your gut. When you eat, it binds fat molecules so your body can't absorb them, and they just pass right through you. Early tests show it's incredibly effective, completely tasteless, and unlike previous fat-blocking drugs, doesn't seem to cause the nasty stomach side effects. What do you think about this, John?
I think this is cool. I think we finally found a potential natural way to help people lose weight instead of Ozempic and these GLP-1s and all this sort of stuff. I like the way that this seems to work because I don't know if you've seen those infomercials at 3-4 in the morning where it's like, oh, take these pills and it'll block fat and all this sort of stuff. So this actually does come from a chemistry and science background. So I like it because the microbeads are made from green tea polyphenols, vitamin E, and seaweed. And then when they're swallowed, they attach to dietary fats inside the digestive tract. So I like to think of them like little Pac-Man balls that gobble up fat before your body can absorb it. And so this is great because you don't need a big gastro bypass. You don't need a big balloon. You don't need surgery, anything like that. My only concern is that this won't go anywhere because there might not be a profit to be made from a pharmaceutical perspective, but who knows? What are your thoughts?
Well, I that might be the case, but someone would probably have to buy it, patent it, and then shut everyone down who tries to use it. Otherwise, it'll get out there if it works the way they say it does. I think this is great. It's like if you could have a meal that was spinach or a seaweed on your platter every meal that had the right combination of these things, you just eat it along with everything else and it absorbs extra fat and out it goes. Great. And if this is like, I'll just call it like a tea bag for lack of a better thing, so small that it absorbs all the moisture, but instead of moisture, it's fat. And then it just gets, put out your body through the normal process. And I guess it doesn't have the same nasty side effects because it comes out as a solid product rather than the other ones where it bypasses your gut, but the fat and grease still come out as fat and grease rather than being absorbed by something else.
Yeah, exactly. So I like it because they form the polyphenols from the green tea and the vitamin. They form these stable biocompatible nanostructures, right? And so I think that this I'm super excited for this because again, we're talking about almost a natural fat blocker. And so that's great for your body. Now, as far as the binding to fat and extracting the fat, what side effects those will have be, who knows, but way less than any kind of prescription drug or any kind of surgery that you have to have, right?
Yeah, the microbeads achieved up to 81% efficiency in controlled laboratory conditions when exposed to different types of dietary fats, including peanut butter and pork fat. The most significant findings came in a 30-day study where rats on high-fat diets lost 17% of their body weight over 30 days when microbeads were added, which reduced their adipose tissue and liver damage significantly.
Yeah. What I like about this is, like, essentially your favorite bubble tea could actually help you lose weight instead of having calories in the future.
Well, let's be clear. It can help you lose weight, but calories and fat are not the same thing.
No, I know.
I know. I just say potential of plant-based microbeads as a weight loss aid. Having a superior safety profile, natural-based ingredients, very versatile applications. The tasteless nature of these microbeads open numerous possibilities of integration in everyday foods. They can be seamlessly incorporated in various products without affecting taste or texture. Scalable production. Targeted fat blocking rather than suppressing appetite or increasing metabolism. These microbeads specifically target fat absorption. So the mechanism allows people to maintain normal eating patterns while reducing caloric absorption from dietary fats. So, this sounds like a great solution versus, how much money they're making on the Ozempic drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can extend these to various food products, health-focused snack foods, put them in beverages and smoothies, dietary supplements, meal replacements, restaurant applications for healthier menu options. So I'm excited about this because, having foods that actually help you are great.
Yeah, exactly.
So if it blocks fat, does it also block good fats, omega-3s or fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, or K vitamins that we actually need?
Maybe.
Will people eat more junk food thinking, the beads will cancel it out? And so for right now, make sure you don't buy magic beans. Scammers will likely sell fake versions of this immediately. If it isn't FDA approved yet, don't buy it. Watch the words alginate and polyphenol. These are the key ingredients. Keep an eye on health news for these terms in relation to hydrogels. People are looking for this type of passive weight management tool who want to avoid the needless, drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic and the side effects of traditional diet pills. So I'm pretty excited about where this is going. And this is the first promising fat blocker that uses smart material science to potentially solve side effect issues that plague the dietary industry for decades. So is this the future of dining, or is this messing with your digestion a hard pass for you? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep watching this story because it's super interesting.
Sure.
So do we have time for this drill one?
No, I gotta run.
All right. So what do you got going on, John?
Yeah, so not much. Just probably heading to a couple networking events, depending on when this comes out. The Flowgrammer event and Startup Drinks TO. When are those happening, Craig?
Well, this will be coming out mid-January, and I don't have the 2026 dates yet. Okay. So, no, it's all right to ask because it's coming out. But check torontostarts.com for all of that, or flowgrammer.ca or flowgrammers.ca. Any of those will have our list of events. So check those out for our locally run events, and we're starting in the new year, Flowgrammer Cafe, our monthly build days where we're having coffee and drop-in sessions. We're taking over a space and limited space where builders just come and work. There's no lectures, no slides, no demos, just like-minded builders sitting beside each other, doing stuff, helping each other if they need to, sharing ideas and whatnot. So look for the Flowgrammer Cafe coming. We do Flowgrammer events where we do AI and automation demos and get the group together. monthly. Check those out. And our monthly startup investor drinks, where we get startups and investors and the startup community together for an evening of networking, open bar and open pitches. It's always a good time. And John, if they're looking for non-dilutive funding, where do they go?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, John Irwin. And reach out to me if you have any questions on non-dilutive funding. There's some changes to the SHRED program that have been approved. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. But yeah, if they need any other help with their business as their startup themselves, wow, my brain is not working today. Can they reach out to you, Craig?
Yeah, just head over to torontostarts.com if you're looking for help with your startup. We do networking events, we do workshops, we do workshops, mentoring, networking, connecting. You can go over to torontostarts.com and book a free call with me if you're just lost or want to connect or don't know where to go. We'll get you moving. Everything's over there. We have other websites, but just head over to torontostarts.com and you'll see all our events and links to our other stuff. So that's the best place to go. And thanks everyone for watching and listening today.
Thanks everyone.